So, Ted, we've talked about concerns about the potential dent, I guess, in solar demand for silver because of high silver prices, and how that, may actually not only be tempered by what's going on, tempered by what's going on in oil prices and energy sources globally, but really there are some emerging other industrial demand sources that really could help drive, sort of essentially new sources of demand for silver and help compensate for any possible downside from solar. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course, Peter. What I would say immediately is the automotive demand is probably the next successor, I would say, or certainly one of the successors for solar. Um, it consumes around 25 to 50 grams of silver an EV, and that's around 67 to 79% more than the average internal combustion vehicle. Um, so what we're seeing here, Peter, is probably that, by 2030, comfortably, the automotive sector will be consuming around 90 to 120 million ounces of silver a year. Now, that's around half of what solar consumed at its peak, but nonetheless, it's still incredibly substantial considering the deficits were in that region over the last few years. And there's also, surprise case whereby it rises much higher towards, 135, 140 million ounces by that point. And a lot of that, like you say, is underpinned by EV growth and the oil shock that would drive that EV growth. I think it's just worth noting for context that actually EV sales grew 20% year on year globally in 2025. And over the last since 2017, the compound annual growth rate for EV sales globally has been 40%. So, whilst you might not be seeing many EVs on the streets in the US, where actually sales declined in North America at 4%, this EV revolution is happening, particularly in China, where EVs are becoming increasingly affordable. Actually, they're even more affordable without subsidies than the internal combustion engine alternatives, and that's lending itself to emerging markets like Thailand as well. And of course, India, mere 2% market penetration of EVs in the largest populated country in the world. So there's a huge opportunity there. And there's also emerging technologies as well that hold the potential to really drive EV demand for silver even more, which is this, of course, as we've spoken about before, Peter, the Samsung solid state battery, which actually consumes 10 to 20 times more silver than the average EV battery. And in the Ingold We Trust report, I estimate actually that even at a mere 3% market share global EV sales, that could actually result in around 20 million ounces of silver demand, or up to. And so you think about a very, very small adoption of that technology could drive a very outsized increase in silver consumption. So certainly automotive demand is an emerging factor for silver going into 2026 and beyond.